Porsche and its subsidiaries will give all employees a maximum annual bonus of €9,700. A higher bonus was paid with the April salary compared to last year. The bonus was €9,000 in 2023, up from €8,000 previously. It became a tradition a year earlier. Since 1997, the Volkswagen Group company has annually rewarded employees based on results. We owe this bonus to a very simple thing: the brand's exceptional sales performance last year despite a tense economic context, disruptions in supply chains, and soaring inflation. In comparison, Volkswagen employees will receive around €104,700. It's a nice sum, but it's about half the bonus given to Porsche's 28,000 employees. Despite selling 10 times more cars, all of this is quite normal. We're talking about the car manufacturer, certainly the most legendary, the most popular, and above all, the most profitable on the planet, who managed to bring together a very unique community of enthusiasts, established people, outsiders, ambitious ones, athletes, and classic car lovers. In short, a group of fans that spans all generations and reaches every layer of the population. A real feat when you know that the adventure started with this, and this. Porsche's story is a unique one in the automotive world, marked by great successes and challenging times, and which owes its survival in part to Toyota. But it built a strong identity across models and adapted to market trends, occasionally unsettling purists while upholding core values: individuality, intelligence, passion, excellence, vision, and trust. I've never talked about it on this channel before, so let's get started. Today, we'll explore the fascinating world of Porsche and the founding principles that have made this brand unique in the automotive industry. The very first Porsche in history dates back to Ferdinand Porsche. One of the top engineers of his era, worked for others before creating his own cars. Ferdinand opened a design office in 1931 where he designed cars for Auto Union, the ancestor of Audi. The legendary Silver Arrows also dominated Grand Prix races between the two world wars. The Type 12, designed by Zundap as a small affordable car, was the precursor to the iconic Volkswagen Beetle. In 1934, Porsche won the tender launched by the ruling power at that time, which you are likely aware of without further elaboration. He was assigned to design a vehicle meant to make cars accessible to the masses in Germany. And yes, he is the father of the Kraft durch Freudewagen, which would become the Volkswagen, the people's car, later renamed the Volkswagen Beetle when it was imported to France. After the war, we provided some context, but this video's purpose isn't to give you Porsche's complete detailed history, as that's not the focus. On this channel, my main focus is strategy and design. There are already many detailed videos on YouTube covering other topics. After the war, Renault invited Ferdinand Porsche to visit their factories and provide input on Renault's design, disregarding past events. 4L. But he was arrested on the spot and imprisoned without trial as a prisoner of war. Not bad, right? That's French. Ferry, his son, took over the company and completely transformed it at that time. The Porsche family profited from each Volkswagen Beetle sold, which would eventually reach 21 million units produced. Porsche isn't interested in making small popular cars for extra money. The family's goal is to build race cars. It all began in 1947 with the Porsche 356 Italia, then with the famous 356, which is considered the very first real Porsche in history. A Beetle-based sports car that reaches a top speed of 87 miles mph, it was a genuine grand touring that established the brand's DNA for its time. The 356 was a great success with over 76,000 units produced from 1948 to 1965. The car was offered as a coupe, convertible, and a speedster version, requested by Max Hoffman, a United States Porsche importer who wanted a sportier option for American buyers. There would also be a racing version called the Porsche Abarth. 356, designed by Abarth and drawn by Franco Scaglione, which marks Porsche's entry into racing. The car will compete in the legendary Targa Florio race and the 1,000 kilometers of Nürburgring. 21 units of the 356 Abarth are delivered to Porsche, with 20 more planned for production. But the adventure between the two brands will come to a premature end. Porsche accuses its supplier Abarth of delivering cars full of defects, even though it's winning every race. Despite Abarth's punctual deliveries, they still complain about delivery times. They even report steering problems, despite supplying the steering themselves. In reality, rumors are starting to spread in Germany that Porsche might not be able to win with a 100% German car and would have to rely on the Italian expertise of Carlo Abarth to get by. Obviously, they didn't like that at all at Porsche, and this rumor put an end to the collaboration. Despite the 356 Abarth's performance and racing success, the relationship between the Italians and Germans ended poorly. Porsche then focused on its next car, the 911. The 911 is Porsche's star, icon, and monument. One of the most legendary contributions to the automobile's 60-year history. However, we won't cover it in detail in this video. If there's one model that warrants its own video to reveal the secrets of its beauty, it's this one. It will be the focus of my next video, immediately following this one. So, take 3 seconds to subscribe to the channel as you don't want to miss out. For today, let's mainly remember that the 911 is an exceptional car which will have immense success, but it's positioned quite high in terms of price, well above its predecessor, the 356. At the time, a whole segment of the brand's historic clientele left because they couldn't afford the latest jewel from Stuttgart. To address this issue and broaden its market, Porsche launched the 914 designed by Ferdinand Porsche's grandson. The design, with pop-up headlights integrated into the hood, is a radical departure from the brand's previous offerings. Its less rounded, more conventional shape and mid-engine architecture set it apart as the first Porsche with this design. It aims to be a more accessible model to attract a younger, yet still affluent clientele. However, success remains elusive in Europe. Developed with Volkswagen and sold as the Porsche Volkswagen, it gained a reputation as the poor man's Porsche, a label it still has today. But it's not the only one. The 924, its 1976 replacement, also has Volkswagen roots. This project began as a collaboration between the two companies, but the 1973 oil crisis hit during the design phase, and Volkswagen pulled out of the project, leaving Porsche free to sell. The 924 on its part, this 924, with its modern design for the time, was hated for a long time. The FFs, or front-engine Porsches, represent a new category that I need to tell you about. 356, 911, rear overhang engine, 914, mid-engine. In 1976, a new era began. Porsche follows other manufacturers and puts the engine in the front to improve handling and offer trunk space to customers. Despite this modern touch, the 924 was never truly complementary to or a competitor of the 911. Due to its entry-level equipment, positioning and small engine that produced barely 100 horsepower in the standard version. Despite challenges, the Germans persisted in developing front-engine vehicles to penetrate the market. A car that could finally replace the 911, which Porsche believed was nearing the end of its run. And that gave birth to the 928, an aluminum chassis, a big V8 engine, and even a Gran Turismo Sport variant. None of it worked. The 928 failed to achieve its expected success and was discontinued in 1995 after a 20-year run, ultimately failing in its mission. Porsche also offered at the same time the 944, a much improved version of the previous model, with wider fenders and a more powerful engine, which completed the lineup just below the 928, and it was surely the right compromise. The 944 performed better, and we even got a turbo version and a convertible version. It was the best-selling front-engine Porsche until the Cayenne's launch in 2002 with over 160,000 units sold. And to replace it, the Stuttgart company is betting everything on one last version, the 944 S3, which will eventually be called the 968. With its round retractable headlights, but not hidden so they're always visible. Except here, that's where the trouble starts. The 968, with only 13,000 units sold, was a complete failure and signaled the end of the heavily criticized Porsche modular architecture. And people called it the poor man's Porsche until recently. But all the owners will tell you that they are fundamentally good cars, well-balanced and pleasant to drive. In recent years, their collector's value has steadily increased. In fact, their main flaw at the time was mostly that they weren't the 911. To summarize, the 968 was a failure in the early 1990s. In addition to this model, Porsche's lineup consisted of only the 911 and the 928. The company was on the brink of bankruptcy with a deficit exceeding $180 million. Surprisingly, Toyota played a role in its survival. At first glance, studying the connection between Porsche and Toyota may seem puzzling. Comparing a 911 and a Corolla is really like tasting two products as different as pretzels and sushi. BMW and Mercedes are rumored to be waiting for Porsche's potential downfall to acquire the company at a discounted price. But the brand's top management will turn this crisis situation into a strategic partnership. At the time, their production was totally chaotic. Workers had to climb ladders to assemble the parts of each car. Everything is disorganized and the factory is a model of inefficiency. To rescue his legacy, Porsche hired Japanese engineers from the Shinji Jutsu group who previously worked at Toyota. Today, recruiting from competitors is common in the auto industry, but in those days it was different. Back then, Porsche symbolized German pride. Having foreigners explain how things should be done was embarrassing, but the brand had no choice. Japanese engineers, masters of production processes, came to share their expertise. The impact of this unexpected collaboration was immediate. Porsche cut the assembly time for these models from 120 to 72 hours by completely overhauling the manufacturing process. It eliminated half of the design flaws and led to a 25% reduction in the workforce needed to build a model. They succeeded in reducing production costs and improving car quality simultaneously. Meanwhile, Porsche's engineers are developing two models to revive the brand: the renewal of the 911 and the arrival of the sexy, attractive entry-level Porsche Boxster. At the time, the Boxster was really an experimental project that was criticized by the brand's fans. Firstly, it's not a 911, but more importantly, the concept was first presented at the 1993 Detroit Auto Show. The brand aimed to appeal to a younger, more female-centric demographic, who wasn't as attached to Porsche's history as the owners of the 911. To attract new customers, the Boxster has the advantage of being an affordable model and, above all, an elegant one. Designed by Harm Laggy's teams, who worked on the BMW Z1 Panamericana concept and the legendary Carrera Grand Touring. Additionally, its design was inspired by the 1950s Porsche 550 Spider, which we'll discuss shortly. It's the first car made with Japanese design methods, and to save on manufacturing costs. The brand shared many parts between the Boxster and the 996. Enthusiasts were unhappy because they believed it would significantly distort the Porsche 911. But Porsche purists are known for voicing their opinions after every change. A few years later, when the Cayenne came out, they screamed about the death of the Porsche spirit. Yet today, we have to admit that the brand's first sport utility vehicle made it possible to finance the creation of an ever-growing range of sports models, 911 and other dream cars. Besides, whether we like them or not, the different generations of Cayenne and Macan have been huge successes since their launch. Today, they make up over 50% of the brand's sales, clearly due to high consumer demand for such products. But it's also thanks to Porsche's ability to successfully offer efficient cars to enter this market. And above all, because even with a new format, they managed to apply their secret recipe. The head of design at Porsche is Michael Maurer, a 61-year-old German designer who first worked as a ski instructor and surf coach, before studying automotive design and starting his career at Mercedes, where he designed the first SLK, which foreshadowed his future style of clean lines. After a stint at Smart and Saab, he arrived in 2004 to head the design department at Porsche. His first project was the Panamera, an entirely new model with no history. It was a good starting point to practice connecting the identity of a new Porsche with the Porsche brand identity. Ask Mikaya what the design of a new model starts with, and he'll answer you in 3 words: proportions, proportions, and proportions. Regardless of size or category, cars from the Stuttgart brand have balanced proportions that reflect their dynamic performance across the entire range. Porsche constantly seeks a balanced proportion of length, width, and height in its vehicle designs. To have cars that are wide enough, with a long wheelbase, and to be able to place the wheels optimally at all 4 corners of the car. If you probe further, he'll concede that the design of the 911 influences all Porsche models. Although I said we wouldn't discuss September 11th in this video as the next episode will be dedicated to it, it still played a role. 5 essential Porsche design principles, 5 intangible style elements that explain the brand's success. The absence of a grille is a consequence of the rear overhang engine position, from the Beetles and the 356 which we mentioned earlier. Unlike almost all other cars, the engine doesn't need an air intake at the front to supply a radiator located behind a grille. The sloping and curved hood is a feature of the radiators now present at the front of modern Porsche 911S and other cars. Front or mid-engined Porsche models such as the Cayenne, Panamera, Macan, Boxster, and Cayman receive fresh air via large openings in the bumper. The hood line retains its distinctive sloping shape. The headlight shape is another design aspect directly inherited from the first Porsches. These headlights, which have never been completely round, have always kept the same spirit. From certain angles, the elliptical headlights of the first Porsches, including the 996, are visible in the Macan and Panamera. And the Boxster or the Cayman, which have had many variations in the shape of their headlights, share this characteristic. Whether modified, stretched, or deformed based on the model, they are always a central, instantly recognizable element of Porsche's design. Another identifiable Porsche element is the flyline or fastback silhouette, a single uninterrupted sloping rounded roofline running from the top of the windshield to the rear light. Aerodynamics has been a key design element of the 911 since its inception, as the original designer Erwin Kommanda drew inspiration from it. He wanted a profile closely resembling a water droplet. To improve performance, this line is still very pronounced on modern 911s, but also on the Cayman, the Panamera, the Cayenne Coupe, and the Taycan. The Macan and Cayenne SUVs feature a sloping roofline, even with a vertical radius when viewed in profile. Continuing the Porsche spirit, the flyline directly influences the shape of the rear window. The distinctive curve has become another element that lets you instantly recognize a Porsche in profile. You could say this part of the 911 has changed the least since its 1963 creation. The prominence varies by model, but it remains a timeless symbol of Porsche's identity. Finally, one more element originating directly from Ferdinand Porsche and designer Erwin Kommanda's initial sketches. The pronounced curved fenders that wrap around the wheels, common to all models, gave the 930 Turbo its sexy look. We owe them to the people's car, the Beetle. It's not about performance, but economy. The shape made it easier to replace a damaged fender at the time. Despite different economic considerations today, all Porsches in the catalog have retained their muscular fenders. The Panamera, with only 2 back seats instead of the typical 5, exemplifies the significance of this feature, making it a sedan. Since the design team wanted a compact, fairly narrow cabin, which allowed them to keep those pronounced fenders that give a lot of character. Now let's discuss one of the final elements of the brand that contributes to its legendary status and is part of its magic formula for success. In marketing, associating a brand with well-known public figures can be an extremely powerful strategy for shaping brand image, improving customer perception, and embedding specific values in the public's mind. This is particularly true in the automotive industry, where brands aim to sell not just a product, but a lifestyle and identity. Porsche's advantage is not needing to pay celebrities to be their model ambassadors. By producing beautiful, high-quality, high-performance cars that symbolize success, you attract high-value customers like a magnet who will promote your brand with pride without you even having to ask. From the start, Porsche captivated celebrities, particularly in the United States, who instantly connected with the small, high-performance European cars. They chose to design their models around 2 archetypes, the hero and the rebel. James Dean and Steve McQueen, 2 handsome and famous actors, perfectly illustrate this strategy. Like no one else, they embody archetypes that resonate deeply with the collective imagination, representing alluring danger and independence. Rebel James Dean is the tragic rebel. Known for his role in Rebel Without a Cause, he is seen as the symbol of rebellious youth in 1950s America. He died at 24 in an accident while driving a Porsche 550 Spider, forever linking him to the Porsche brand. The accident has enveloped the brand in an air of mystery and danger, which reinforces its passionate and sometimes reckless character, appealing to customers who value authenticity and boldness. Steve McQueen, for his part, is the embodiment of the eternally cool anti-hero. He is known for his wild Mustang adventure in Bullitt. But it's the role he himself defined as the role of his life in Le Mans that brings Porsche a different and complementary connotation. McQueen was not just a car enthusiast, but also an accomplished race car driver. His passion for race cars and his choice to drive Porsches both in his private life and on screen helped position the brand as the ultimate choice for those seeking to combine performance and prestige. A recent example is the lead actor from the Fast and Furious franchise. Paul Walker, known for his association with Porsche due to the tragic circumstances of his death in 2013 as a passenger in a Porsche Carrera Grand Touring, Paul Walker's on-screen roles reflected his personal life. He had a well-known passion and owned a stunning collection of sports cars. His lifestyle resonated with the image of performance and adventure that Porsche embodies, and his accident did not tarnish the brand's image. Above all, it reaffirmed the manufacturer's unique expertise in creating exceptional cars, however dangerous they may be. The tragic deaths of James Dean and Paul Walker contributed to their iconic status despite their youth. This proves that for the brand attracting those who live passionately and seek excitement, legends become eternal rather than dying. If you've watched the video this far, you're a true car and Porsche enthusiast. But perhaps, like me, you sense that this passion for cars is increasingly threatened. Gradually, some are attempting to make it vanish merely to stop us from enjoying it. We're headed towards a future where engine sounds and coupe designs will be mere relics of the past. For me, it's impossible to accept, and I created this channel to keep car culture alive. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you for keeping the flame of automotive passion alive. Share your thoughts in the comments. See you next time.